Good morning and welcome to Long Island Viewpoint. I'm Ken Rosato. The international humanitarian organization Convoy of Hope has been a first responder during natural disasters for many years. Today we find out more about what they've been doing in our area. We also bring you the New York Shock Exchange, a financial literacy program for kids. We begin, though, with an educational issue. Common Core creates a set of federal education standards that schools must adhere to in order to obtain federal race-to-the-top funding. Well, Common Core sets up the curriculum so that every school is teaching the same thing at the same time and in basically the same way. Well, many are not sure that's a good approach to educating our children. Joining us in the studio are Mary CALAMIA, a clinical social worker and psychotherapist, Dr. Joseph RELLA, superintendent of the Comsewogue School District, and YVONNE GASPERINO, co-founder of Stop Common Core in New York State. I want to welcome you all and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you.
Well, Mary, first of all, what is Common Core? What led you to testify in the New York State Assembly about it?
Well, the Common Core is, as you said, it assumes that every student can learn the same thing the same way and at the same pace. And I started to see last year in my private practice an influx of kids coming in with anxiety, depression, self-mutilation, insomnia, school refusal, just a bundle of mental health issues. And, you know, on a good month or in a good year, in a good school year, maybe I get 10 or 15 new students referred to me. I was getting like 10 or 15 referred to me a day. Schools calling, parents calling, insurance companies calling, hospitals calling, and it just seemed, you know, out of the realm of normal. So looking into it, I recognize now that these standards had been implemented a month earlier, and all of a sudden the kids were coming in, they didn't want to go to school, they were vomiting, couldn't sleep, and the self-mutilation.
Self-mutilation, that's quite extreme, and we're talking not just one case.
Correct.
And how about yourself, Dr. RELLA? What about the main issues that trouble you about Common Core?
Well, you might want to flip it around and say what's right about it.
Okay.
The main issues that are troubling, the implementation and the curriculum were rushed. The curriculum is not complete. It was less complete last year when students were tested on it, grades 3 through 8 in ELA and math. 30% of the students in the state passed. Any exam that's designed to have 70% of the students fail is abusive, and that's what's troubling me. This is hurting our children. It's also robbing them of their childhood and teaching them at a very young age that they're losers and failures. That's wrong.
Now, at the taping of this show, there was just a giant conference on Long Island, I believe, yesterday.
Correct.
At the taping. Now, this will be broadcast a few days later. But at the taping of the show, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of parents showed up, very angry at the state superintendent, some demanding his resignation over this.
Well, this is not new. These hearings have been going on. It's called a listening tour, except no one's listening. Certainly not the commissioner. Parent after parent, teacher after teacher, educator after educator getting up and with the same message. This is hurting our children. It needs to stop. It needs to be fixed. If it can't be fixed, it needs to be thrown out.
And YVONNE, you formed an organization about this. Talk about the organization.
Yes, Stop Common Core in New York State. With my husband, March, we found out about the standards just by chance. Started doing our homework and seeing that this curriculum was not age appropriate. It took away the local control from parents and from the teachers and from the principals. And as we know, education should come at a state and local level, no further than that. There's so many things wrong with this curriculum that we felt we needed to do something, and we formed Stop Common Core in New York State, a website that has templates, that has letters you can write to your legislators to support Assemblyman Graff's bill A07994. That's a bill right now that we have going on to stop Common Core state standards and race to the top. There's also a petition that has, we just hit 15,000 with the petition, fixnewyorkschools.com, and we're asking everyone to please sign it, to please join our Facebook page, Stop Common Core in New York State. We're looking for parents to mobilize. We started out with 3 counties. We now have 61 counties.
Wow.
We have representation in 61 counties. We need one more county, Yates. And the counties go on to mobilize, to go to their school boards, to present. We hold parent-led forums. I go all over the place and do parent-led forums.
Is the argument, though, that if the state is against Common Core, that they'll lose federal dollars? Is that what'll happen, or?
Well, Dr. RELLA is the best.
Yeah, I mean,
that one.
this was why the state got involved in the first place. you really can't have a national curriculum. So at least what's put out there is it's not national. States adopted it. That $4.3 billion in federal grants were dangled in front of the states. New York got about $700 million out of that. So yes, that's the issue.
So that it all comes down to
absolutely.
dollars. And I think back to the concept, let's say the Montessori concept of teaching, which was all about put a bunch of kids together, different ages, and they'll learn at their own pace. So some second graders may, or as we would call them, some 7-year-olds and some 9-year-olds may learn at the same pace, having nothing to do with the grade system that the rest, the rest of kids in the public school system might learn at, and some of those kids turn out great. So it all depends on what their own pace is. But this is antithetical to that.
And that is correct. But the other issue with this is these standards are age inappropriate. They're asking children to do critical thinking, abstract thought, and inference, which you cannot do. A child is not capable of critical thinking. They're biologically incapable of critical thinking until about the age of 24. It's gradually comes in, but in early childhood it's out of the question. So critical thinking, it's like asking a fish to fly. And what I'm seeing is these little fish that are trying to sprout wings, and they're ashamed of their gills. And they're coming in, they're blaming themselves for not being able to fly.
Have you all communicated with people in other states as well?
Oh yeah, I work on a national level with many, many grassroots leaders, and this is not just a state movement. This
let me
is
jump ahead and say, who thought this was such a great idea? Was there any research done before this was implemented?
No, these standards were written by educrats. Basically, Pearson, the Achieve, and David Coleman, who was the president for Achieve Inc., who wrote the standards. He's now the president of the College Board. And why is he the president of the College Board? He's president, so now he's going to align the ACTs and SATs to the Common Core state standards.
So let's. This is anybody who's watching this has got to scratch their heads and think, who's benefiting out of this? If 70 or 80% of the kids are failing the tests,
Companies,
corporations,
money.
They're writing
when the test scores go down, test prep materials bring in more money. When they go up, test prep materials, consultants who write. The Common Core is a copyrighted set of standards. It's owned by the National Governors Association. It's a $500 billion industry, so that's who's benefiting.
So as the educators, and that's your job, you're in the trenches day to day. Your hands are tied.
Yes.
And you deal with these students on a day-to-day basis, and you are screaming at the lawmakers, you people don't know what you're doing. This is what we do on it. This is what we're trained in. We have our degrees in. You're not listening to us.
Correct.
And you're banging your head against the wall. So now here's your forum. You're on television right now. What do you want to say?
I asked the state senate, they were doing hearings about the Common Core. Why wasn't a mental health professional invited to the hearings? They said they thought the mental health issues were irrelevant. So what I want to say to them is they are relevant. Business is booming in psychotherapy, and I don't want to earn a living on the backs of children who are coming in broken. It is easier to build a strong man than it is to fix a broken one.
Doctor, got 10 seconds left.
Stop it. Fix it or scrap it, throw it out. But first stop it, because while we debate this, children are being hurt.
And give us your website, because we're just about
Stop Common Core in New York State. Parents need to mobilize, inform, equip, and empower yourself.
Very important issue. Thank you all very much for being part of this this segment today. This is very important if you have kids in school.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And we're going to be right back with Convoy of Hope, an organization that's been helping Long Island area residents after Superstorm Sandy. Stay with us.